Oh, it looks like I'm live. Hello, welcome to the show. My name's Chuck Cassidy. We're doing this live from my house tonight because I don't have a bus to be inside of because my bus is about to go to the shop for some work, and we can talk about that later. But thank you for joining me. It's amazing. I'm looking at the thing here, and I already have one thumbs up and one thumbs down. So I must be doing something right. Haters are a sign of success, is what I've been told. Welcome to the show. Hopefully we get some more of you joining. It looks like we got 7. I've got my, please excuse the computer. That's how I gotta do it so I can switch camera angles. You know, I've got this one, not as good. This one's way better. And I'll be watching and keeping an eye on the comments here on the old YouTube chat. But I'm trying to get back on the horse with the lives, you know what I'm saying? So gonna be trying to do this more regularly on Thursday evenings. Thursdays are like my favorite night of the week. I don't know if anyone else feels that way because tomorrow is Friday. It's like, you can get through it, who cares? Have fun on Thursday night. Start your weekend early, you know what I'm saying? And with that in mind, I'm gonna have, this is a June Shine Classic Vodka Mule. We'll see what the heck that's all about. So cheers. And if you don't partake in the alcohol, good for you. That's admirable, frankly. I had my sober stint and it was good for me. We'll retire someday soon. But hey, it looks like, oh, now we got some watchers. Hey, welcome to the party, everybody. Thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. Watching from Arvada. Oh, that's like right down the thing, you know? Feel free to start throwing your questions into the chat. I'll start hitting them up, you know, as we go here and, you know, do my best to answer them. Before we get started though, I mean, who here, let's get down to brass tacks. Who here has been on those Facebook groups? I'm talking Schooly Planet, Schooly Nation, Schooly this, Schooly that. It was a long time. I had been in the bus thing on schooly.net, you know, an old school forum with message boards where the info was good, people weren't idiots, and like, it was real, you know? And then Facebook came along, right? And then we got Schooly Planet and all this crap. And it's just the worst. I get sucked into the bullshit on that. And it's the freaking, you know, somebody needs to monitor me. And when I go to log on to Schooly Planet, just like slap my hands away. People on there. Now I've become a thing, you know, and people have strong feelings about the way I do things, which is interesting to me because I'm not saying that you have to do things my way. I'm just saying like people have paid me a lot of money to build the best possible buses, and this is where I'm at now. And there's still going to be room for improvement, and like it also doesn't mean you have to do it the way I do it. I just got to clear the air because I've lived in like uninsulated stock buses where I just literally ratchet strapped a couch to the wall. Now I was like 23, you know, and our standards when we're 23 and the things we can tolerate and like still be happy are, you know, we can tolerate a lot more, frankly. And I am not interested in living that way. And I also am worried about mold and things like that. And that's why I get rid of the stock windows. But like people take my opinions very personally, and like, it's just my personal opinion. You know, that's my problem, not yours. Anyway, I just got to get off my chest because it was bumming me out. Some people were saying mean things about me, and I'm like, dude, like build your bus how you want. Like just get on. It's like, it's not even about the bus, right? The whole point of this exercise is to live some kind of lifestyle, right? That has really, the bus is just a tool. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, off my chest. But the things I never thought I would be dealing with, but should have expected starting a YouTube channel about how to build buses. You know what I'm saying? Go figure. Anyway, Troy, yeah, we can talk Monday for a call. I got your message. Just haven't gotten back to you, man. It's been pretty busy around here. You want to have me build your bus one day? That's going to be tough. You know, I'm not doing many full builds these days. Painted Buffalo, what up, Jess? Hey, so my friend Jess, the Painted Buffalo, who you see here, you should check out her Instagram. Jess, I wish I knew a little bit more about this, but her and some folks are putting together what looks to be a really cool like schooly workshop thing where if you want to learn how to do a DIY learn how to do a DOI. Learn how to just do a conversion and learn from people who have experience. It looks like it's a camping situation. There's going to be a good time, good community, and food, and I like Jess. Jess is cool. So check out her on Instagram, The Painted Buffalo, and I'm sure there will be links there to figure out if you can attend that. Looks like a lot of fun. I can't be there, Jess, but I hope it's cool for you. So anyways, April 12th to 14th, there you go, Bus Build Workshop. Boom. Hey, you're a mod, Jess. If you want, you can throw a link to your thing in the group chat. That would be fun. Anywho, thanks for joining us. We'll just keep on going. We'll go with the questions. I'm going to be on here for an hour, so I got about 50 minutes left, and I got a thing I want to share with you all that I find to be pretty darn cool. And yeah, any diesel heads out there, I think hopefully will feel like it's cool. All right, Thomas, do I have any personal thoughts, opinions, stories about the newish to the market 12-volt AC mini splits for truckers? Yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts. I know they exist. We tried to install one on my friend Wes's bus, and at least the one we were looking at it seemed like it was coming straight from China, and it was very hard to decipher like what exactly we were getting. And when it showed up, they sent us the wrong thing. And I was stoked because I was like, man, this will be a cool thing to check out. And I'm sure there are companies out there that are more reputable than what me and Wes gambled on, but they seem interesting. Now, 12 volts is a very low voltage. If I were trying to run a mini split and wanted it to be DC powered, I think I would at least want 24, because like any decent sized mini split when it's running is going to be pulling like close to 1,000 watts if it's on high. And 1,000 watts at 12 volts is like approaching 100 amps, and that's a lot. And when you have that much amperage, I start to get weary because that usually means there's probably a more efficient way to do things. But I would be curious to hear. There are things out there like that people rave about. So cool. So the Painted Buffalo, check it out if you want to see, or if you want to attend or learn more about this bus build workshop that she's putting on. There's a link there in the old chat, and you should check it out. Might work for you. I would love to do one of those someday, but Lord knows I don't have time. So Jess is probably as good as it's going to get for a moment at least. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, I'll get to. I'm going to hit up the Discord here later today. And for those of you who don't know, I have a Patreon. You can give a few bucks a month and get access to my Discord channel. There's a lot of great people in there sharing thoughts and tips and tricks. And I'm working on being more active in there as my life calms down. It's just a really cool message board. And it reminds me back of the forums of Schooly.net that were way more sophisticated with much better people who actually cared, as opposed to the Schooly Planet bullshit that's happening on Facebook. That's just such a bummer, frankly. I mean, and I'm not saying you got to pay for it. Like, if you really want the best, Schooly.net is still the king of Schooly information, and it has been for over a decade for sure. What's my preferred method for laundry? Do you hit the laundromat? Well, I'm not going to have a laundromat. I'm not going to have a laundromat in my bus. I'm also not going to have a washer or dryer. So laundromats and friends' houses. If I had a bigger bus, I would consider it, but they eat up quite a bit of space, and they also eat up quite a bit of water and energy. So, what's my most favorite bus engine? If someone's giving me a brand new engine of my choice, it's brand new, but it could be any engine. I think if I could just pick one and have it, it would be a Detroit Diesel 8V92T. And good luck finding one of those. It's an all-mechanical V8 diesel with a turbocharger on it that is massive. It's a 2-stroke. They roar like a son of a bitch, and they're basically indestructible. But they are very hard to find parts for. If we're talking like a modern engine, and we're just going like big, lots of power, the Cummins 855, which is only offered in the Crown school bus, would be my next pick. That's a 15-liter engine. That's like double the size of the DT466 in my bus. That would be my number 2 pick. Again, rare as hen's teeth and only available in a couple of buses. My number 3 pick, which is a little more attainable, It's probably going to be either the Cummins 8.3 or the International DT466. Both of those, though, I would specify the mechanical versions, which would mean something before 1998 or so. My favorite engines will never have a computer on them, just because when you have a computer problem and you're troubleshooting it on the side of the road, it can be like really tough, you know? And if you don't have a scanner or something to tell you what the computer's thinking, it's really hard to figure out what's going on. And an all mechanical engine, it can tell no lies, you know? What you see is what you get. So there you go. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for the kind words, everybody. Are buses and agricultural sections a good thing or a bad thing? Looking at a pretty decent bus, but it's a broken leaf spring. Well, repairing leaf springs is cheap. So it's a big problem, no doubt, but it's a cheap fix. A lot of times, chassis and suspension shops will have leaf springs sitting around. And I'll get to that story in a second. I would say if the rest of the bus is like rust-free and in good shape, it would be worth looking into. In general, more rural buses, the trade-off is less stop and go, right? More highway miles, but a lot of times those districts have less funding. But that could go two ways. It could mean that the buses aren't maintained well, or it could mean that the buses are maintained well because they don't have the money to buy new buses. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have to look at it, and the best I can say is it depends, you know? Any ideas on recycling the bus windows? I mean, you could make a greenhouse if you're creative. I can tell you, a lot of, myself included, and a lot of people I know have had that aspiration but never done it. If you want, you can strip down, take the aluminum off the glass and recycle the aluminum if you really want to. Here we go. Yeah, I think I got your email about a conversion to do the snake thing. The problem is I'm not doing full builds for people right now. So, and really unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, I don't think there's a way you're going to change my mind on that, at least until I have a shop of my own, which who knows when that's going to happen. I have a question. I already built my floor plan for my diesel school bus, but I'm having a hard time to find which bus would be easy to fix and parts to find if I run into any issue. Well, I think what you're trying to ask me is what buses are easiest to repair and maintain, and the answer is tricky because generally the older the bus, the more simple it is, the easier it is to repair. However, usually repairs involve new parts, and new parts are harder to find the older the bus gets. So do you see the trade-off here? It's like an intersecting slope, you know, like parts are easy to find, bus is easy to fix, and like maybe somewhere in the middle there's a thing there. For me, the cutoff is somewhere around the early 2000s. And as long as you're sticking with something that was like made by a well-known company and was a common engine choice, I think finding parts and people to fix it shouldn't be that hard. But if you get a much newer bus that has a lot more emissions controls and sophisticated engine management and emissions management software and electronics on board, it's definitely going to be more complicated and so less easy to maintain and and then more expensive for sure. But if you buy a really old bus, those parts are going to be hard to find, and finding someone to work on them will be tough. So go figure. There's not an easy answer to that question. And just as a blanket statement, this lifestyle, much like owning a boat or something, is going to be exponentially more expensive the less information you know about the topic and the more you have to hire out to people. This lifestyle is something that rewards people who do research and gain as much knowledge as they can. And it has a tendency to punish people, you know, and I'm not casting any judgment here, but it has a tendency to punish people who don't do research and get themselves in over their heads, you know. So I always advise people, like, learn as much as you can, and then when you buy the bus that checks all your boxes, that feels like an awesome bus that you know is going to work for you, and be really, really picky about that point, because a bus it's the one decision you can't take back, and every time you have a repair or whatever, it's going to add to the cost of that bus, right? So if you spend the money on a much nicer bus, maybe an extra $5,000 more than you thought, that could save you an easy 10 grand, like not just down the road, but maybe like next month on repairs, you know? So yeah, the Cummins 5.9 is an easy engine to rebuild, and that's a pretty approachable one. What it really has going for it, it was in Dodge pickup trucks. Parts are ubiquitous. People really love it, and because it's a parent bore engine, a parent bore engine means that the holes that are the cylinder walls, right, that the pistons live in, are bored out of the block. Now on my engine in my bus, it's a sleeved engine. So they put the hole and then they have a metal sleeve that goes in the hole, and that's the piston or the cylinder. What's cool about a sleeved engine is that you can rebuild the engine just by swapping those sleeves out. You don't have to even take the engine out of the bus. Very cool. What's bad about that is that there are O-rings and specific coolant requirements, and potentially it becomes another failure point if you're not maintaining it well. And so the trade-off of easier rebuilds is maybe you ruin the engine quicker. The cool thing about a 5.9 being a parent bore engine is there's no cylinder liners to fail. However, if you wear out the piston walls, the cylinder walls, you know, as an engine gets older, you'll have to remove the block in order to rebore, you know, bore over and hone those walls. You might be able to hone it in place, I don't know. But that's, and the Cummins 5.9 is relatively small, but it can make a lot of power, especially if you turn up the fuel rate and things like that. But that's a great approachable engine, especially if you get your hands on an all mechanical one. But those stopped being made sometime between 96 and 98. So, all right. Whatever happened to that competition with the 4 builds? Well, there's only 3 builds, van, schoolie, and an RV. The name of the show was Gutted. And actually, Jess, the Painted Buffalo, was on that. She wasn't on our team, even though she is a bus person. But she was like super cool. And honestly, van team, everyone is cool on that show. So whatever. But go check it out. I think if you Google it, it's on an app called Blank Space. And you can see what it was all about. If cost isn't an issue, what's my take on incinerator toilets? They're just a lot more complicated than a composting toilet. I mean, a composting toilet, like you're pooping into a bucket fundamentally, and that's something that doesn't have a lot of failure points. So, I mean, even cost not being an issue, I think I would still probably go for a composting toilet. Although the idea of like, you know, the tricky thing with the incinerator toilets is like if you don't get an electric one, and like it's hard to power an electric one because they use, I think it's around 2 kilowatt hours to process, to do a full burn cycle, which is a lot. That's like, I mean, shoot, that's like 20% of most people, like your average, even that's like a large battery bank, 20% of even a large battery bank just to flush it. So you can get a propane one, but I've heard the propane ones are kind of like unreliable and hard to, they've got their issues, you know. So anyway, how much would you charge for designing a solar system? So I literally have a link in the video description, as I do every time I do this, where you can click in there and follow the directions. You can book a consultation with me. It's $100 an hour. You get me for an hour. We can design a solar system. I can help you plan out your bus build, whatever you want to do. And if you're in the middle of a build and you want a lot of help, you can schedule, or you can sign up for schoolie support. That's a monthly thing. It's $250 a month, which is a lot of money, but you can schedule an unlimited number of half-hour consultations with me and my friend Justin, who is also partnered with me on that. So you have 2 people that you get access to, and it's really helpful. You could be at the hardware store and you send Justin a text and he'll probably get back to you. Or you could have a list of 100 questions, schedule a half-hour session with me, we'll go through them all. So a couple of options there. Always an option. I try to make it easy. Everyone's always asking how to do it, and I'm like, what am I missing? Because I'm doing my best to make it easy, but if it's hard to find, let me know, because I really want people to have access to that help if they need it. So it's important for me to know if like a link isn't working or something. So watching from Tennessee, heck yeah. Unless you crack the block. Well, if you crack the block, Jess, you know. I am in my house. I would love to rent it out, but it's not done yet. So you got a 5-window Collins bus. Nice. You know, I don't have recommendations for backup cameras because anymore it's all changing so fast. There's a lot of different styles. I would just go on Amazon and look for one that has the most good reviews that seems legit. What type of toilet do I recommend? A composting toilet. And there's a lot of different types out there, from the Nature's Head to the Separate to the Ogo. I mean, they're kind. I don't know. They all have their pros and their cons, and that's just a whole. That could be an hours long video. I feel like we should have a panel discussion of like what's the best composting toilet. You know, a big old shitty conversation. Coolant maintenance is important on diesel engines. That's correct, particularly the Cummins, particularly any engine, I would say. And that's an often neglected element. Everyone knows the like oil change is an important thing, right? But I have seen many more diesel engines fail because of improper coolant maintenance and cooling system maintenance than anything related to oil. Be that overheating because they didn't take time to make sure that their thermostat was good, that their radiator wasn't plugged, that their radiator fan and the clutch that controls it was operating correctly. A lot of these buses have incorrectly operating fan clutches on that big fan behind the radiator. If that thing's not engaging, I mean, and just because it's spinning does not mean it's working properly. When that thing kicks on, it sounds like a jet engine. And if your engine is running hot and you don't hear that jet engine kick on, it's time to look at the clutch on your fan, the fan clutch, because it's probably failed. And if that's not working, you're gonna overheat. And so many people, like, there are so many breakdown stories on the internet, especially on the Facebook schoolie groups, because that seems to be where the most inept people congregate. They buy a bus, they don't know anything about it, they drive it and they overheat it, they blow the head gasket or worse, and that's the end of it. And it's like, man, just watch your gauges. Like, get in the habit of watching your gauges and don't mess around with cooling system problems. And if your bus is running hot, pull over and let it cool off, and then figure out what's wrong with it. And you always have to make sure that you're running the correct type of coolant. If you use the wrong kind of coolant in a diesel engine, you run the risk of cavitation. And what cavitation is, when you have the walls of the piston or the cylinder, and there's coolant on the other side, every time that there is an explosion in there, which is thousands of times a minute, that vibration, as far as I understand, and this is me just recalling from memory, but there's a vibration that occurs, and in that vibration, a small low pressure region is created that turns into a bubble, actually, because that vibration, somehow the movement of it creates low pressure, and the low pressure means that the boiling point of the water is reached, which is hard to fathom, right? Even though it's not getting hot. But when you lower the pressure, the boiling point decreases, and a little bubble forms. And when that bubble forms and goes up and pops, that bubble brings with it a small bit of metal, right? These are like probably microscopic bubbles, tiny pieces of metal, nothing significant, right? But we're talking trillions of explosions, tens of thousands of miles. It adds up. You have enough of that, and the cavitation really causes issues. It can eat through cylinder liners. It can cause all kinds of problems. I know because I've had engines in my care be ruined because of improper coolant usage by previous owners, and it's a major bummer. So take a look, figure out what type of coolant your bus needs, and follow those guidelines to the T. To the T. Most modern coolants, once you get your bus set up on it, you'll never have to change it again. They're usually good for hundreds of thousands of miles in many years. So take the time, get it right, and then you don't have to worry about it. And hopefully you'll have many happy miles going for you. Oh, we got Bart in here. What's up, Bart? Oh, yeah. What are my thoughts on our... Everyone's asked about incinerator toilets. Are you late? They're great, but they use a lot of power, and that's my main holdback, and they're much more complicated than just a composting toilet. I know people are afraid of composting toilets because it's like pooping in a box, but hey, it's not that hard. You know, I've lived with the composting toilet in my last bus for over 5 years. It was great. Love that thing. And a lot of people would say that the Nature's Head, which is what that was, isn't even the best composting toilet. So if I can be happy, I bet you can. Everyone's different. But if it were me, I don't think I would ever probably go with an incinerator toilet. Just, I'm the kind of guy that likes simple over complex, you know? Bart likes incinerator toilets. Good for you, Bart. How's that new V8, Bart? I got a 2008 International Diesel Pusher. It starts and runs fine, but recently started not turning off when we turn off the key and remove it. Laura, I wish I could help you, but I do not know how to do that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Steve Cummings, you got back from AAA bus in Phoenix. Oh my God, Tony, that guy is a freaking legend. He is insanely busy. Oh my God, but you got the parts you needed. I'm glad to hear that. I recommend that guy a bunch. Are gas engines good or bad? Jack, do you really think you're gonna get that kind of answer from me? I'm not gonna drop blanket statements like gas engines are bad and diesel engines are good, because frankly, it really depends. If you got a 40-foot gas bus, which would be from sometime in the 70s, that thing is going to drink the gas faster than my great aunt on Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I'm saying? She's just, what a gas drinker. I'm kidding. She was a nun. But like, a gas bus has its place. Where I would be stoked to have a gas bus is like a late model GMC or Chevy 5 window that had the 6.0 gas motor in it. That motor has a great reputation. In a small bus like that, the fuel mileage penalty and all of the drawbacks of a gas engine don't really matter, because the platform is very small and relatively lightweight. And the cost of maintenance and all of that, honestly, it's actually worth it at that point. And the fact is, right now, in most places of the country, diesel is more expensive than gas, to the point where a lot of times the fuel economy savings are offset by the price differences. Now, in a bigger bus, I mean, like, I've got a 34 or 35-foot gas bus from the 70s with the Chevy 350. The thing literally gets between 2 and 3 miles to the gallon on the highway. So at that point, even though gas is cheaper, it's still not economical. But in a short window bus, it might be the difference between getting like 9 miles an hour in a gas bus to like 10 or 11 miles an hour, or miles per gallon in a diesel bus. And at that point, I would lean toward the gas bus, just because you're probably breaking even on your price per dollar per mile, or your dollars per mile. But you're saving money on the maintenance side of things. And it's just a fact, like, especially if you're doing the maintenance here, if you're hiring the maintenance out, gas engine is going to be cheaper. That's just the way it is. They usually don't have turbos. That's a whole thing. And they don't have complicated emission systems like a lot of diesel engines do. So I am filming my bathroom build. It's just taking a long time to do that because I'm busy doing all kinds of stuff. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow to fly to Florida to do a solar install. That's what all that gear is on the floor behind me. And I'm just in a position where, to get to the next phase of my life, I need to make a lot of money. So sadly, the stuff on my bus is slowed down a lot, but the bathroom is the next thing. I've got the shower pan, I've got the tile, I've got everything lined up. I just need like a week. Not even a week, like 4 days, and I could do that and make a video about it for y'all. But this fella's been busy, I'll tell you what. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Realize you're a schoolie god. No. No God. Big old Ryder truck or something, box. It's like a box truck conversion. Yeah, people do that all the time. I think it's a good way to go. It's not going to be as solid as a bus, just straight up. School buses are really beefy vehicles, you know. As far as composting toilets, people don't keep their poop around long enough for it to compost. And I do think that name is a misnomer, but here we are, you know. It's really just like pooping in a bucket. It takes a minimum, I think, of 2 weeks for the composting process to like be starting after the like last time you pooped in it. And they still say like you shouldn't use the compost from that for growing food, which is reasonable, you know. Would you wire the rear view camera into the reverse lights? It depends. Not usually. I like to just be able to look at that and have it be on whenever I want it to be on. But if you want it to only turn on when the reverse lights are on, that's fine, you know. It's really up to you. Whoa, I just, you know, YouTube slid me right to the bottom of the frickin' thing, you know what I'm saying? Cavitation, the hunt for Red October. Yeah, cavitation is a real thing, you know. You got to watch out for that. Tamara, because of you, I feel like I can really convert basics in my shuttle bus. You need my assistance. You can always schedule a consultation, but I really am pretty much booked as far as like actually helping you, unfortunately. So, never mix coolant colors. That is good advice. Don't mix your coolant colors. Let's see. What else do we got? Okay, Steve Drumheller. Hey, good to see you around. Any recommendations for a front winch to help get unstuck? Yeah, so I can speak from experience on this one. You got a 5-window bus, and I've been pulled out of really deep snow about 100 feet down a steep road that honestly we shouldn't have been down in a 5-window bus by a fella who showed up. He does off-road recovery, and he got us out of there with just I would think it was a 12,000-pound winch. It wasn't any more than that. And, he would use pulleys and tie off around trees, and he was able to get us out of there no problem. So I think I would do that. I would plan on running at least one pulley setup though, because I think as a rule of thumb, it's nice if the winch is capable of moving quite a bit more than your vehicle weighs. So if it were me, I would carry enough rigging to do that. But a lot of times, these buses get stuck and they just need a little bit of a help, to get out of that. But I would definitely look into getting some straps, some blocks, and get yourself the mechanical advantage of some pulleys. Hey, Chuck Daddy. Who told you to call me Chuck Daddy? Your videos helped us from investing in a rust bucket. The dude hit us with the old, this engine is rated for 500,000 miles. That's the number one sign that you're talking to someone who doesn't know shit. This is a 1,000,000-mile motor. You just shut your mouth, And if they say it's a 500,000-mile motor, it's like, not in a school bus, dude. Maybe in an over-the-road truck that's just highway and you're going, it's well-maintained. Hell yeah. But in a district bus driven by drivers who don't give rat's ass about any of that stuff, driving it hard, stop and go, forget about it. There is a reason. Okay, just put your thinking caps on. There's a reason why when you go to the auction, most of these buses getting retired from service don't have more than like 200,000 to 300,000 miles. If they really thought it could make it to 500, don't you think they would keep it? Now I know there are emissions things that play into that too, and service limits in some school districts, amen. But like more often than not, I just think it's really interesting to note that like you will very seldom find buses with more than 300,000 miles on them, which you think would be a lot more common if they are good for 1,000,000 miles. Am I right? And that's just one part. You got the transmission. Is that good for 1,000,000? How about the leaf springs, the axles, the differentials? Those good for 1,000,000? There's a lot of other expensive items to consider. So that's good point here. Gonna incinerate your toilet after this burrito. Amen, brother. Tony Peroni. Is that how you say it? Because that's how I want to say it. It's fun. You bought a 400-watt solar panel on my recommendation. Yeah, get with me on the Victron stuff. Hit me up, schedule a consultation. Links in the video description. Anyone can do it. You could do it if you want. Bart, you're gonna have to get a new transmission. Oh my God, you are a savage, man. That guy throws down the miles. All right. Oh, it scrolled me down. You know what I'm saying? Too bad. My opinion on a propane bus, I wouldn't touch it. The problem with propane is that its energy density is very low. So like a gallon of propane just has a lot less energy than, say, a gallon of diesel. I know the difference between diesel and gasoline. I want to say it's like 20% or something like that. And I think going down to propane, that's another big percentage. The other problem is that finding places to refill on long road trips is going to be tough. And you combine that with the fact that on a fuel tank, a propane fuel tank, it will travel less far than on a fuel tank that held gasoline. It's going to be a tough road tripping bus. Now, I've got a friend, he drove a propane bus once from Denver to Austin, Texas, and he made it. But that's the only road trip I've ever heard of happening in a propane bus. The cool thing about propane, it's clean, burns clean. Your engine, you can go a long time between oil changes because there's a lot less impurities, I guess, or byproducts. What would you call it? When gas burns, there's all these additives and shit. Whatever. Propane burns clean. But aside from that, like I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. That's a headache you don't want. It's hard enough to find diesel sometimes. He had a GMC gas bus, 454, 5 miles per gallon. Hey, that's pretty good with a 454. Looking at a DC to DC charger to charge your Anker 767 Victron 20 amp. If it were me, if you're Travis J, if you're trying to charge your Anker while you're driving, I would look into just getting an inverter and hardwiring the inverter to your battery. Get like a 1,000-watt inverter, and then plug your Anker into that, and then limit the charging current to just below 1,000 watts, maybe 900. That'll get you a much faster recharge time than just a 20 amp Victron thing. Because the 20 amp Victron converter, that's like 240 watt, it's going to take you like close to 10 hours of driving to recharge that thing. Thank you for being here. Hi, Rev. Hope you're watching me on the John. That's my favorite place to watch YouTube videos. We'll be back if you got to leave. Stargirl, we'll be back here. It's all good. We'll be back next week. Here we go. Thanks for being here, by the way, everybody. God, time flies when I'm doing these lives. I barely had a drink, and I only got 20 minutes left. Hopefully everyone's having fun. Laura Lorazzo, you're all in and completely committed to the lifestyle. I'm leaving the building side. Yeah, but I'm not going anywhere, and I'm still doing builds. I'm booked, frankly, and full builds are something I'm not going to do for a while. That's it. All right, Big Rolling Home. Get that canvas top off. Tamara, you want to sign up for my program? Yeah, just, again, in the video description, there's a link to my website. Everything is there. Try to make it super easy for you. If you have any issues, let me know. It's a new thing. I want to make sure it's working. I want it to be easy for you. ChuckCassidy.com. Super easy. Super easy. What is supposed, let's see, blah, blah, blah. When I rivet sheet metal together for a roof raise, use any kind of seam sealer that overlaps to prevent leaks. So in my bus, and this is like a question everyone just asks me over and over, but like in my bus, I didn't use seam sealer on the horizontal seams or on the vertical seams. You totally can. There's no, for me, I didn't think it was necessary because I applied seam sealer after the fact, but a lot of people have been up my butt telling me I should have used a sealant there. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. You know, a lot of the stock bus manufacturers did not. They just relied on those 2 rows of rivets to do all the sealing. If that's not enough for you, throw down some seam sealer, man. Do it, you know. Don't let me hold you back from a good time smearing the goo on your seams, you know. If you do the seam sealer method, I definitely recommend 3M. They have good 2-component seam sealers. They're kind of like an epoxy thing. You will have to buy a special gun. I'll show you. Since we're in my house, you know, I'm the kind of guy that just happens to keep seam sealer caulk guns in my living room. But it's one of these guys. And as you can see, it's got 2 plungers. And it's meant to push out 2 tubes, and they mix in the tip. And once I get that, let me make sure we're focused. The camera, it has a hard time knowing what to focus on. But that would be my recommendation. But for me, you know, I did it after the fact. I don't regret that. My bus has leaks, but they're around the front windshield. Such a bummer. Quite annoying. Zachary Taylor, any updates on the oh, hold on. Can't get to you yet. Anyone know anything about the International 9-liter? That is a big-ass, naturally aspirated V8 diesel that is going to last a long time, will make not a ton of power, and is kind of ancient technology. If it was turbocharged, that would make a big difference. But I've had a bus with that. It was a good bus, but it topped out around 55. From your experience, which is better, air brakes or hydraulic brakes? Air brakes all day long. If an air brake system fails, it fails in the applied position, at least on the rear brakes, which means that you will never truly lose your brakes the way a hydraulic system, if it fails, you are then relying on a mechanical emergency brake activated by a lever that's almost never in good adjustment. Yeah, air brakes all freaking day. They're easier to repair, all that stuff. Anyway, Zachary Taylor, I don't have the pre-built thing is going to be a while in coming, but if you want help with the solar thing, you know, shoot me a message or schedule a consult. We can get you one designed. I'll save you money at the end of the day. You'll save some money with me. I'm not as fast as Amazon, but you'll get something that's tailored to your needs. I don't charge shipping or taxes. So, Big Rolling Home with the fact check. Propane only has 66% of the energy content as diesel. So that's about what I thought. So, yeah, Travis, it can take in a lot more charge from the AC power. That's why I recommend doing that. Like if I was going to incorporate one of those into my system, I would buy like a 1200 watt inverter, hardwire that off my battery, and then use that to charge my all-in-one battery bank. And then that way, and then because the 767, if you have the app, you can change the rate there and tailor it so you don't overload your alternator or the inverter or whatever. So, God, time is flying. I got to talk about some other things here, you know. Chuck Daddy. Who are you, Feel Better Living? There's only a few people who call me that, and it's really funny if you're in on the joke. Let's see. Are there any 2015 or newer bus manufacturers that can be recommended? It all depends on the motors, but in general, that new of a bus, things are changing radically in the bus world, and they're becoming a lot less fun to work on and convert because they're becoming so complicated. And so I don't think I would ever probably recommend anything newer than like a 2010, you know? Larissa, you want to cut a small section of chair rail out to vent your water tank? You can do that. I wouldn't worry about even reinforcing, to be honest with you. Any Schoolie Nomad events I'll be tending aside from the bus fair? No, right now the only thing I'm planning on going to is the bus fair, which is in Oak Ridge, Oregon this June. Not only will I be there, hopefully my goal is to have my bus finished by that time, which would be cool. If you make friends with me, I'll show it to you. But I'm also directing and coordinating a series of seminars that we have every year at the bus fair. But it's an all-day series where we're going to have between 7 and 9 experts in their field. I'll be one of them, giving presentations on various aspects of bus life, everything from solar systems to insurance tips and things like that. And if you go, we have different ticket levels, but you can sign up and get that part of the pass. And there's a lot of other cool reasons to be there. Oak Ridge, Oregon in June is gorgeous. It's really nice. And it's just a good vibe. It's really a really good vibe. Good family-friendly event, and I have a lot of fun there every year. And I would love to see you there if you want to go. It's thebusfair.com. If any of my moderators are listening here, I'll just put it in the chat because why not? www.thebusfair.com. Go on there, get some tickets. It's my favorite bus event. All right. Getting used to the air brakes. Yeah, the air brakes, the interesting thing about air brakes is you don't really get any feedback from the pedal. If you're used to hydraulic brakes, especially in a car, you can kind of get some feedback there. Air brakes, you're kind of just like stepping on a beach ball, and it's like maybe that's enough, you know? And I find that there's a slight delay with air brakes that isn't there with a lot of hydraulic systems. It's very, very slight, but it's enough to where it's easy to accidentally apply too much air brake pressure. So, especially if your bus is empty or lightweight and has air brakes, it can be tricky. Do I have links to items I recommend on Amazon? I don't yet, but there are a lot of things that I recommend. In fact, if you want, since we have 15 minutes, I'm going to go here and I'm just going to share a list. Just some miscellaneous stuff that I like, you know. Chuck's picks. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see if this works. If it doesn't work, sorry. Otherwise, I hope it gives you access to a lot of useful stuff. It's from the Amazon. Copy that link. Boom. I'll paste it in there. Maybe it'll work for you. Maybe it won't. Have I looked into Edison Motors at all? Oh man, dude. Braxton. Yes. Edison Motors, like, I think what they're doing is probably one of the coolest things out there. And to me, getting like a mid-sized bus and doing one of their conversion packages that they're talking about offering would be the ultimate. Edison Motors is a company that is they're basically taking a technology that has been used to run diesel locomotives for a long time, which is diesel generator running electric traction motors, adding a battery bank to that, and then scaling it down for use in semis and medium-duty trucks. It means you're getting a hybrid is what you're getting, but in a much bigger form factor. So if you had that and you were able to tap into the battery bank of that for running your house, because the house side of things compared to like the battery bank on a Tesla, most schoolies that I design solar systems for, the ones with the biggest electrical systems have around 20 kilowatt hours of storage. That's about a fifth of what you would find on a Tesla right now, okay? So if you can imagine a heavy duty semi, it's going to have a large battery bank, right? The cool thing is it's got a built-in diesel generator just for charging the battery bank. So you could recharge like that. And if you combine that with solar on the roof, you've got a really sweet platform. So it's something that like I would love to get my hands on. It's going to be expensive, but that I think my next full build, honestly, my dream would be to do it on that type of platform. So thoughts on wood stoves and buses? They're great, but insurance companies hate them. So it's between you and your insurance agent. Going to replace your AT545 with an AT2. It's not an AT2000. It would just be an Allison 2000, David. But yeah, personally, it depends on the year of your bus. If your 5.9 Cummins is already all mechanical, I would stick with an all mechanical transmission. The AT, not the AT, but the Allison 2000 series, it does have overdrive, which is cool, but it's an electronic transmission. Electronic transmissions are electronic, you know, they're not as simple as a mechanical one. They do have their advantages. For me, I'm swapping my AT545 on my bus for an Allison MT643, which is an all mechanical transmission. It doesn't have overdrive, but it does have a lockup torque converter. And then what I did is I changed the rear end ratio in my axle so that I have much higher cruising speeds. I'm kind of hell bent on not having a computer controlled drivetrain. That's my own personal thing. Traumas, you know. That was my way to get a higher cruising speed at a lower engine RPM with a better transmission. The cool thing about swapping to an MT643, you will need a bell housing adapter, unfortunately, but outside of that, it's the same shifter linkage. It's the same modulator cable. I think it's even the same oil pan, although I haven't checked that one myself. And depending on the swap, like for me, the only modification I'm going to have to do is shorten the drive shaft. I'll take it to a shop, 2 3/4 inches off the top, please. They'll give it back to me. I'll go ahead and have them rebuild the drive shaft with new U-joints, because why not? And then there you go. So anyway, hope that answers your question, David. All right, 10 minutes to go. Here we go. Patrick, you pulled out your exit alarms and now it won't turn over. Sounds like you got an interlock problem. All I can say is make sure you're neutral, make sure your batteries are charged. And if it's an interlock issue on your 04 Bluebird, well, there's a lot of variables there. If you really want my help, you can always schedule a consultation. We can pick through it together because electrical troubleshooting is tough. How do we change it so insurance companies will accept decks and roof raises? Well, I don't know. Do I look like a friggin' insurance underwriter? For frick's sake, come on. I hate insurance companies. They're the worst. Always getting in the way of a good time. And it's weird that our government mandates that we buy a private product like insurance. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that weird? All right, without further ado, time for the show and tell portion of tonight's show. This book is called On the Wings of Diesel, but it is about Pakistani diesel truck culture. These are people who live in very rugged areas and they're totally dependent on these trucks. A lot of them are Hinos or Hinos. I don't know how you pronounce them, Hino. They're these old trucks and they become a part of their spirituality because they are so important to their lifestyle. And this book chronicles them. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but like, look at the elaborate painting on this bus or on this truck. And like, I'm sorry, but like the work that these people put into their buses or into their trucks, gosh, I have a one truck, one bus mind, you know? And there are channels on YouTube too that document, God, the painting on these. It's just unreal. It's all hand done, obviously. But like the repairs that people will do on these trucks with just the most primitive tools, you know, it's unbelievable. I mean, look at these guys. Jeez, it's so cool. So cool. I love this idea of having kind of a spiritual connection to machines, because that's something that really resonates with me. This book is called On the Wings of Diesel. It's given to me by a good friend named Eric. And Eric, thank you for the book. But it's just this book itself is a really interesting study on how important these vehicles are to the people of Pakistan. And I think it's really, really cool. It's just really cool, you know? So check it out sometime. All right, got a few minutes left. Is it true if a bus is registered as an RV, the driver is not required to have a CDL with air brake endorsement? I'm not even touching that. In Colorado, no, it doesn't matter. You know, if it's an RV, they don't care what endorsements you have. Now, people will fight tooth and nail on the internet, especially in those Facebook groups I was talking about earlier about what the right answer is. My thing is just call the state patrol in your area and ask. They love answering these questions. Believe me, they really do. And they will set you straight. Do not ask people on the internet these types of questions. Ask the state patrol, you know? Don't speculate. Why speculate when you could just learn it, you know? Anyways. My floor windows, school bus apparently is not just short, however short in height. I don't really know. Insulate both ceiling and floor. Rebecca, yeah, I would definitely try to insulate both if you can. I'm not really sure what your question is totally, but see you later, Bart, man. Safe travels. You log the road miles more than anybody else, you know. The creativity. Oh, hey, what up, Wes? My friend Wes, Transcend Existence, is here in the live chat. That is special. Yeah, man, isn't that crazy? These Pakistani diesel trucks. Man. And you got to check out on the internets, on the YouTubes the repairs that these guys do. I mean, they're wearing freaking flip-flops and they're like welding a cracked frame, which people in this country, the keyboard warriors of America, will say, hell no, you can't do that, you know, whatever. And out in Pakistan's like, dude, hold my beer. And by beer, I mean, don't hold anything because I'm not drinking, because I'm on the job working in sandals without eye protection, welding a cracked frame together. They'll like rebuild a starter motor without even putting in new parts. You know, they'll like dip it, take it apart, rebend all the wirings. I mean, it's like so freaking cool, and just something that like doesn't happen here in the States. You know, that's what I'm saying. Kyle, I haven't gotten that gift yet. I just haven't seen Alyssa in a long time. So, but she did tell me she had a gift for me. All right, we got 5 minutes left. Unless you have any more questions, I think I'm probably going to bounce out of here. Thank you all for joining me, though. I'm trying to do this a little more often, a little more proactively. It's hard because the fella's busy over here, but I appreciate all the support. And if you want my help with anything, in the video description is a link to my website. It's a new website, but hopefully it all works. And you can schedule consults. You can join the Patreon. You can do all that cool stuff. Get your fill of Chuck. I'm kind of sick of the guy personally, and I'm here to help you. You know, that's the whole point of this. So get in there, ask for the help that you need. Yeah, all right. I think I'm gonna bounce out of here, y'all. Everybody, have a great Thursday night. Enjoy your weekend. My name's Chuck Cassidy. Thank you for tuning in as always, and we'll catch you here hopefully next Thursday with some more of this, some more of that, and some more hanging out. See you then.